Hello friends, today I am going to talk about unsafe code in C#. We'll learn what unsafe code in C# is, why it's needed, and where all and how we can use it in C# program. So before we get started, just a quick reminder to subscribe my channel, hit the red button and don't forget to click on the little bell icon. That way you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, without any further delay, let's get started. What is the unsafe code in C#? Unsafe code enables us to write unverifiable code. In other words, the unsafe code in C# is just the code whose safety cannot be verified. When we write unsafe code, that code still runs under the context of the CLR. Here CLR is nothing but the common language runtime. And it just allows us to use the pointers for direct memory access. It is just outside the verifiable subset of the IL, intermediate language, right? Okay, in an unsafe context, our code may use pointers, allocate and free blocks of memories, call methods using function pointers. Why unsafe code? There are a couple of needs for which unsafe code is used. What are those needs? Number one, to use pointers. If there is a need to use pointers, C# does not support pointers. But still we want to use pointers in C#, we need to use unsafe code by which we can use pointers. Number two, to call native function that require pointers. Number three, sometimes for performance enhancement. There are some scenarios where we could get performance boost if we use unsafe code. For example, unsafe code may increase an application performance by removing array bounds check, right? Disadvantages of unsafe code. We should avoid using unsafe code unless necessary, as it has many disadvantages. What are those disadvantages? Number one, it introduces security and stability risk. Number two, the programmer's responsibility increases. What does it mean is, when we use keyword unsafe, we simply informs compiler that the management of this code will be done by the programmer itself. Thus, programmer's responsibility increases. Number three, type safety is not supported by CLR, which may lead to errors. Okay, let's try to understand with the help of example shown over here. So there is a class named program that has main method, which is an entry point of this application. But if you notice, I wrote unsafe keyword before the return type, and inside the method, I have written this character variable, char mychar is equal to R. We have the char pointer ptr that is storing the address of mychar variable. Okay, and then what I'm doing, I'm finally printing the character value and the address of the character value in the console window using console.writeLine statement. That's it. That's what I'm doing in this program. But if we execute this program, we get the error. What's the error? Error says unsafe code may only appear if compiling with unsafe. So for your information, by default, Visual Studio does not allow to execute the unsafe code. So we need to do some arrangement in Visual Studio in order to execute this program successfully. Okay, so let's see what are the settings that we need to do in the Visual Studio. Visual Studio settings for unsafe code. Here we'll learn how to do settings in Visual Studio so that it allows us to execute the unsafe code. So for this, what we need to do, we need to just right click on the Visual Studio project. Here my project is Unsafe Code demo. Then we need to go to the properties. Once we select the properties, this properties window gets appeared. So here we need to go to the build, then general, and then there is a checkbox unsafe code. Previously, by default, this checkbox is unchecked. We need to select this checkbox. Once we select it and save it, one entry is made in this CS project file. So if you see this is the entry, allow unsafe blocks and value is true. It means it is selected. Okay, and once unsafe code is allowed in Visual Studio, we can use unsafe code and the compiler would compile the code that was not possible earlier. And that's what, if you go and execute this program in Visual Studio, we would be getting the output like this. Character value is R, address of the character value is this one. It means once this checkbox is selected for unsafe code, our Visual Studio is able to execute unsafe code, and that's what we are able to get this output. Character value is R, address of the character value is this one, right? Uses of the unsafe code. Here we learn where all we can use unsafe code. Unsafe code can be used as unsafe method, unsafe block, unsafe member declaration, unsafe class or structs. Now let's see one example for each of them. Let's see unsafe method. Here unsafe keyword is used at the starting point itself in method. And inside that method, we can use pointer and all. And that's what if you see this character pointer we have used, right? Okay, now let's see the unsafe block. Here I have not marked unsafe at the method level, but I have written one unsafe block. That is the starting with the unsafe keyword and opening and closing curly braces. And inside that I have written unsafe code like pointer, right? So here I have written char mychar is equal to r, character pointer ptr is equal to address of mychar, right? And then I am just printing the character value and the address of the character value. So basically these unsafe codes I have written inside this unsafe block. So that's the way how we use the unsafe block. Okay, now let's see the unsafe member declaration. So here I have written one method named getSquare that accepts int pointer I, right? And it just stores the square value of int. And if you notice, I mark this unsafe keyword over here, right? And there is a second method which is an entry point of the program that is also marked with the unsafe keyword over here, right? So inside main method there is an int variable num that stores the value of 5, and then there is an int pointer ptr that contains the address of the num variable, and I just print the num value in the console window, right? And then I call the getSquare method where I pass the int pointer variable ptr. So getSquare method get invoked and it calculates the square value over here. And finally, I print the num square value in console window by using the num variable. And we get the output as shown below. Num value is 5, num square value is 25. Okay, let's switch to the Visual Studio and see all these things in action. So here we are on Visual Studio. I have created one console application unsafe code demo that has program.cs file. So here in this program.cs file, there is a class named program that has main method, which is an entry point of this application. And here I have marked this method as a unsafe, right? So that we can use unsafe code inside this method, right? So for that, what I have done, I have written this console.writeline statement that I'm giving the demo of the unsafe code in C#. Okay. Now if you see here, there is a character variable, right? So char mychar that holds the value of the r, and then there is a character pointer ptr that holds the address of the mychar variable. Okay, and now what I'm doing, I'm just printing this character value and this address of the character value is, right? So for in order to execute this unsafe code in Visual Studio, we need to do settings. What are the settings we need to do? We just need to go to the Solution Explorer here, just need to go and right click. If you go right click, then we need to click this properties. Once we click this properties, we need to go to the build, then we need to go to the general, and if you see here, unsafe code, I have already marked as a checked one, right? But by default, it's unchecked. So we need to select this checkbox. Once we select it and save it, right? So there is an entry gets created into the cs.project file. What is this entry? This entry, allow unsafe code blocks, that is the true value. It gets added into this property group. It means this project is going to allow unsafe code in this project. Okay, so that's what we are able to execute this. Let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. What is the output? Demo of unsafe code in C#, right? It got printed because I have written this console.writeline statement. So this statement got printed, and then what I am doing, I am just writing the character value is of mychar, and mychar is value is holding r value, and same r value got printed into this statement, right? And then I am printing address of the character value is, and what is the value? This value got printed, right? So basically it is printing the character value of the address of the character. So basically this line is printing the address of the character value, and this is the address of the character value 897050236, right? So here we are going to see the demo of the unsafe method. If you see, I have written this unsafe keyword at starting of this static void main method, right? So basically this is nothing but the unsafe method. So that's what I have written this statement demo of unsafe code in C# unsafe method. And the same code what we have discussed just now, we have put it like this. So inside this, we are able to use this character pointer, and we are able to fetch that value also, and then we are printing into this console window. Let me execute this and show the output to you. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. If you see demo of unsafe code in C sharp, unsafe method got printed, right? Because that's what I just wanted to print as a part of this console.writeLine statement, and that's what it got printed, right? Now I got the value of the character value is R and the address of the character value is this one, right? It got printed. And if you see, I have written this unsafe at the starting part of this method, that basically nothing but the unsafe method, and we are able to get the expected output. So that's the use of the unsafe keyword at the starting of the point of the method, that is nothing but the unsafe method. So here we are going to see the demo of the unsafe block. So this is the same method. I have just made little bit changes to show the unsafe block demo to you. So what I have done over here, I have written this unsafe block. Inside that I have written this unsafe code, like accessing this pointer and all those stuffs. So that's the how we used to write this unsafe block. Here what I have done, I have just printing this statement, a demo of the unsafe code in C sharp unsafe block, because I'm just depicting you the code how we write for the unsafe code. So that's what I have written this statement, and all these codes are remain same only. Okay, so now let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. Demo of unsafe code in C sharp, unsafe block, and then character value is R, address of the character value is this many number, right? So basically this number is nothing but the address of the character value got printed into this console window. So that's all about this unsafe block. So here we are going to see the demo of the unsafe member declaration. So here what I have done, I have written one class named program that has two methods, get square method and the main method. Main method is nothing but the entry point of this application. Okay, in get square method I have written this unsafe keyword right before the void, and if you notice I have passed as an input parameter to this get square function like int asterisk I. So basically this is nothing but the int pointer I, and here what I am doing, I am just pointer I into pointer I into, so basically I am just getting the square value of this value of I, right? So that we are storing into this pointer itself. Okay, now there is another method main where we have written this statement console.writeLine statement. So this statement is going to get printed into this console window, and then if you notice in this main method I have marked unsafe keyword over here. So inside that we can use this pointer and all. So for that what I have done, int num is equal to 5, int pointer ptr is equal to address of num, and then I am printing this num value is, and this is the num variable where the num is 5. So 5 is going to get printed for this one. So num value is 5, and then what I am doing, I am just calling this get square method, which is nothing but this method, and here I am just pointing pointer. Notice this is the int pointer ptr. Here I am pointing, here I'm sending ptr, that is nothing but the variable of the int pointer where we are having the address of this num, so that it will be getting invoked, and then it will be just calculating the square value and storing into this asterisk I, right? And then finally I'm just going to print this value, num square value is num. So num right now it is going to store the square value. So first statement should get printed num value is 5, and this statement should get printed 25. Okay, let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. If you see demo of unsafe code in C sharp, unsafe member declaration got printed because I have written this console.writeLine statement. And here if you notice num value is 5 and num square value is 25 got printed, right? Because I have called this get square method, right? And here I have passed this pointer, so that pointer is having that value, and then it is just going to multiplied with the same number, so it will be giving the square value, and the square value what we are getting, we are printing into this console.writeLine, and that's what we are able to get this value, num square value is 25. So that's how unsafe code is used in C sharp. Managed code versus unmanaged code versus unsafe code. Here we are going to see the difference among managed code versus unmanaged code versus unsafe code in C sharp. So managed code. Managed code that we write in C sharp gets executed and managed by a runtime. That is the CLR. That is the common language runtime. The runtime responsibility is memory management, type safety, security consideration, etc. Thus effectively managing the code. Whereas unmanaged code is code written outside of the .NET framework. For example, C++ code. So CLR has no control over unmanaged code and it is directly executed by the operating system. It's the developer's responsibility to allocate memory as well as its deallocation when the work is done. Whereas unsafe code in C# is just the code whose safety cannot be verified. So when we write unsafe code, that code still runs under the context of the CLR and it just allows us to use the pointers for direct memory access. It is just outside the verifiable subset of the IL. So now that brings me to end of my session. To sum up, in this video we show what unsafe code is and then we talked about its use cases and we saw its example where all we can use it, and finally we discussed the difference among managed code, unmanaged code and unsafe code. That's all for this video guys. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends and colleagues, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. Thanks for watching. See you next video.